Yeah.
All right. Hello, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Big Money Stylist podcast. It is so freaking cold today. Like, it started out sunny, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm bringing out my winter parka.
Yeah.
And it was like 65 and sunny, and then it like got cloudy and cold.
I
It was
underestimated today.
Yeah, same.
For
I
sure.
think we all did. Well, I have a special guest here. I was going to say here in the house, but here in the podcast studio. This is Austen. I can't even remember your last name. I just blanked.
So my new last name is Greer.
Austen Greer.
Yes, it used to be Felder, but then I got married
When
and
did
I
you get
moved
married?
a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're new, we're fresh.
I felt like your Instagram changed or something
Yes,
changed.
it did.
So then I was like, I don't know your last name anymore, so I'm just going to ask. So,
Yep, it's Greer.
well, welcome here. You were in
Thank
our
you.
one of our classes today. I just ate a bar, and I feel like I have chocolate in my teeth, but I think
It's
I'm
okay.
I'm
I think I have
good.
to blow my nose, so
It's fine.
we'll have all the sounds.
All the things. But we're here. We're excited to have you. And I love kind of interviewing some of my students that I feel like I know you through. Don't you feel like you know people through social media?
Absolutely.
But I also, there's a lot of students inside the community, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like that 90-year-old lady that can't remember everybody's stories or names, and I'm like, yeah, I know you, but it's
Yeah.
just, it's expanding, which is amazing.
It really is.
But I really love like reconnecting with the artists and finding out more about you, even though, like I said, I follow you on social media, but I don't know your story. So tell us where you're from and kind of how you came about with NBR and how you decided to join the education.
Yeah, I would love to. So I am originally from Louisiana,
Okay.
small town in Louisiana, and about a year and a half ago, I relocated to San Antonio, Texas, because that's where my husband's from. But I was just a regular old, like, small town stylist. COVID hit, and I wasn't even interested in doing extensions, to be honest.
Oh, really?
No. I was just kind of like going along with the
Just
girls
as
at my
like
salon.
kind of like a hobby, like kind of fun, like
Yeah, we were, I mean, I was just, well, at the time, I thought I was making good money. And the girls I worked with, which they were phenomenal, they're still really good friends of mine, they were interested in doing extensions. And
okay.
I was like, sure, I'll do whatever. We paid for this class. We all came here together. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am hooked.
When was it? What class did you
It
do?
was November of 2020.
Okay. Well, oh, was it one of our small, like when we were,
Yes,
we did a bunch
it
of
was
like
the first-
back-to-back
it was like one of the
classes.
first.
Okay. I remember
It was-
that.
And I remember like,
Did I teach it?
yes, you
Okay.
and another
Yeah.
coach, and then other coaches were also training. So we had like 5 of y'all. It felt
Oh,
so
cool.
cool. But yeah, I remember like doing the pre-training and just being like super overwhelmed with the things that y'all were telling us.
sorry.
Like, you can charge this much for extensions, and we're like, not in our small town. And it just felt so like out of our realm. And then we came, y'all talked about Academy, and I was like, oh, I'm freaking going all the way. Like, pedal to the metal, I am doing this. Signed up for the Academy. Within my first year, I doubled my income.
Oh, wow, nice.
I remember sending
Were you
a
still
screenshot.
in the small? You
yeah.
were still in the okay.
Oh, yeah, still in the small town. Doubled my income within the first year, and then my second year, I went NBR exclusive. I knew I was going to be moving, so it helps me kind of drop off other clients, really like niche down. And then once I moved, I had like all of these tools in my tool belt to set up a successful business, and it's just been like drastically changed.
It's crazy because like I love hearing that because that's the biggest thing I hear. You know, people see my lifestyle now and they're like, well, I live in a small town or whatever. And I'm like, you guys, I started in a small
You
town.
can do it.
I'm like, you really can. So how did you like change your mindset to like, was it like slowly giving yourself permission? How did you do that in a small town where, you know, you first take the class and you're like, mind's blown and you're like, who am I to charge this? Like, how did you make that shift?
I was almost just like ignorance is bliss. And like, I just ran with it. I was like, you know what? They made it happen. I can make it happen. And a lot of stylists, I feel like, deal with like emotional connections with our clients in not a positive way. So it's like you feel like you have to save them.
Yeah.
And I kind of was just like, nope, they said to do this, so I'm just going to do it. And I don't want to say it created tension, but I was very much like my personality type. I'm like 110% all the way or nothing. And I literally just went with it and I did the work.
So did people, like at the time, you're working with other artists. And what's scary about growth is all of a sudden you feel very isolated.
Very.
So talk to me about like you felt like very alone. How did you just tunnel vision? And like I'm sure they were like, who's this cold bitch? Like who does she think she, because they can't make the leap. And so I think what happens when you start growing at such a rapid rate, people are almost offended because they're like, well, why don't you like where we're at? Why would you want to go anywhere else? They're offended, like you said, like you're a piece of crap, but you're not. You're like, no, I just want to grow.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I always kind of push the limits, and I have a harsher personality, so people do get a little offended sometimes, and I have to take a step back and just be like, hey, I'm really sorry about that. Like, those weren't my intentions.
Wrong.
Yeah, and everyone was on board. I think 5 of us came out here together, but only 2 or 3 of us were like for the academy, and that just shifted the trajectory of our
like friend group.
No, of our careers, like where we wanted to focus things. That was it. But if I hadn't done the academy for myself, like my transition into a huge like metro city would not have been.
It'd be hard, yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was actually like the best year yet in my career, and revenue wise. And I was by myself in a studio, brand new city. No clients. Like, convention was really discouraging for me.
This last one?
Yes.
Why?
Because I felt so small.
Oh, okay.
Like, prior to, I was like, I had a chip on my shoulder, and I was like, you know what?
Like when you were in the small town?
Yeah, I was like,
okay.
I'm this 6-figure stylist.
Yeah,
like, I'm doing all these things. And then April, we had convention. I had only had my salon open for 4 or 5 months. We got married, so I wasn't really doing, the hardcore things with the studio. And convention, I was like, I just feel so small. And I'd never felt that way before, so it was very humbling for me. And it just gave me that push that I needed to, like, get
Level
my
up.
butt in gear. Yeah, and now I was talking about it earlier with one of the students, like, it's crazy to see what God can do in 1 year.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like this time last year, I was so defeated. I didn't know how I was going to start anything in a new city, like no friends, all the things in life were changing. And it's crazy what he can do and what a little hard work can do.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's hard when you like kind of get in that funk. And also too, like, it's like when there's no ceiling, right?
Yeah, no.
So you get to this place where you're like, okay, like I did it. And then like you said, you kind of like think you're all awesome. And then you surround yourself with people that are like a different level.
Yeah.
And you're like, like you said, it's humbling. You're like,
for sure.
Shit. You're kind of like, okay, well, there's a new ceiling.
Yeah.
Right? And so it kind of like lights a fire up under your ass in a way where you're like, okay, but it's very like inspirational too. It's scary.
Yeah.
But it's like scary but a fun place to be in.
Absolutely.
And I feel like when you've done that a few times, when you get that place where you kind of feel like you feel like the small fish in a big pond.
Oh, absolutely.
It sucks, but you're almost like excited because you know what's on the other side of it.
Totally.
So you're like, so how did you like knowing like, so now where are you at? Like if you felt like that, how long ago? Like you said in this last year, like so much change. Like how did that change for you? Like, cause it's hard to go in a place where you feel very isolated and alone and then come out like on top.
Honestly, you have to do the work. Like nobody's gonna hand you clients. They're not just gonna walk in the door or fall in your lap. At the time, like I remember y'all introduced counsel and I was like, I have to do counsel. And then I looked at my numbers and I talked to my CFO and he's like, you can't do this. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do what I can do. I'm not gonna sit here and feel sorry for myself.
Right.
And I got a marketing manager. I got a CFO. I got all the things that I needed where I knew I was lacking.
Right.
And I did the work. Like the social media parts, not just like, post on Instagram.
Yeah.
That is like, we've talked about this earlier. Like that's just when you say like, I don't understand the algorithm.
It's called checklist posting.
Dude, and it's such an excuse too. Like, oh, Instagram's not going to bring you a full clientele.
Right.
You have to do the work in other areas. And marketing, like being out in the community and doing models.
It's crazy that you're bringing all this up because I, like in council, like in all the trainings I did this year, it was crazy how everybody felt like 2023 was like slow. And I'm like, no. Let's get this straight. I'm like, what happened is you guys all got lazy.
Did you just see my chair like bump down?
I didn't notice. I was like, you got real excited.
It just like plopped down. I was like, okay, cool. Are we going to keep going or am I going to say something?
I didn't even notice, so you're good.
Sorry.
That's funny.
Okay.
But meaning just like, I think what was working with social media and things like that, it was easy to get leads. You're good. I was like, yeah, is my chair gonna move?
I'm like, do I need to sit still?
You got so amped up. Your
I was
chair
just
moved.
so fired up about that.
But talk to us about that, because like you said, you have to do the work. I think a lot of people, when it was easy and they just could post and they'd get people got lazy.
Yeah.
And so like instead of like saying, oh, I don't have clients, like you said, you go out into the community. It's not just about posting, it's intentional posting. It's even writing email copy. It's like doing everything. It's not, you can't just post one photo and say, pretty hair, don't care, book with me.
Right.
You know?
And you also have to find your target market. I have a client, I know her name. She is my target market. So when I'm writing captions or I'm making posts, I'm speaking directly to her because those are the people I want to sit in my chair.
Right.
She will attract her friends.
Right.
And they'll come sit in my chair, and you have to search for those people. Like, I remember reaching out to Kiki and I'd asked her, like, okay, what can you look at my page and tell me what I'm doing wrong? She was like, it's not even your page. Like, you have to know.
Pictures, but it's,
and it's SEO. Like, that's the root behind all of this. So, like, get a website up, get your blog going. All these things will trickle down.
Pick up.
Yeah, and I began to do that consistently. And, like, the change that I saw in my business from just doing those things was insane.
Well, it's crazy too, like you say, SEO and things like that, but it's true. Like how often do you go to Instagram now and actually find people? It's so hard to find people, but what do people always do? They Google. So hair extensions in Orange County, hair extensions, they'll even get more specific because with so much education on the marketplace and so much information, people are even like Googling very specific, hand-tied hair, Orange County, blonde expert, you know? So the more that you can put stuff out there that people will actually find you, then that's how they're going to find you.
It's so true.
It's crazy. It's like the game is changing where people are just going to have to put conscious effort into their marketing. Like you said, like figure out like who is your target and then speak to them.
Yeah.
And I think too, talk to me about like when you're speaking to, you know, like that potential client, I feel like authenticity sells. And it's not even that you're trying to be salesy. You are offering a product in which you believe in, that you're solving people's problems with.
Yeah.
So when you're, you know, doing your videos or your texts or you're posting or things like that, how do you show up kind of authentically as you? You know, you're like, I'm looking for this specific person, but what do you do to kind of talk to them?
So my specific client is similar to me. Like, we have a lot in common. We have a lot to talk about. We value the same things. So I talk about those things. The things that I value, like I value taking care of my body, getting up in the morning, going to the gym, those type of things. I showcase that and how NBR works so easy with me. Going to the gym, I just wake up and go, you know, those type of things. And I am directing towards her. She values the way she looks. She values, you know, she values designer things. Yeah. She gets her Botox, you know, she wants her hair extensions. And I target those things by being authentic to me.
You value.
Yeah. And I don't make it in like a weird way. I just talk about it. Honestly, like, I'm a talker, so it's easy for me to be like, okay, guys, I just left the gym. Look at me, take out my twist. Yeah. And then that's that. Like,
then
it works for itself.
Well, and I try to tell people that too. Like when I was coaching in council this year and everyone's trying to find their avatar or who like their ideal client is. And I'm like, your ideal client is somebody who resonates with you. Yeah. So start sharing stuff that you're interested in, that you're passionate about. Because if you start sharing that, people are like, she's so excited about this product. Like they want to buy whatever it is. And so I always tell people, I'm like, if you can just start kind of, and I can tell you're a talker. See, I'm somebody who has become and learned to be a talker, but I didn't ever, when I first got on video and camera and things like that, like I was so awkward. I was like, I'm going to read you the ingredients of this shampoo. Do you want to come sit in my chair? So I always tell people, I'm like, even if you're not a talker, if you can just show up and like be you and like show enthusiastic, like be enthusiastic about whatever it is, then people are going to see that excitement in you as well.
Absolutely.
Like, so did you have to do anything different with, you know, you say do the work. Like, did you have to redo anything with your website? Did you start blogging? Give us some other tips. Give us the secrets.
I went to some of our trainers' websites that I admired, that their aesthetic was the same. And I looked at how they verbalized things and how they talked. And I knew I wanted a luxury experience. I wanted to elevate my space because it's literally like a 10 by 11 room. I'm like, I got to make this worth it. So I did those specific things within my website, had people review it. I was not afraid of feedback. I'm like, listen, I can't have an ego right now. I got to get people through the door.
Yeah, get people in chair.
Yes. And my marketing manager helped me narrow down those things that were really hard for me. Like, oh, who's your target audience? I'm like, well, I don't freaking know. She wants hair extensions.
Yeah.
And then you just have to narrow down those things very specific. Like, it's okay to be specific.
Yeah.
And I feel like with social media and blogging, I had to be really intentional with what I was talking about. I can't talk about just like, this is why you need
You have to
NBR.
care. Yeah, and you have to care.
Like, what are you asking? What are your clients asking you? When they come and sit in the chair, what are their concerns and their problems? You have to focus on the problem so that you can give them a solution.
Yeah, it's funny because I love that you just said, like, I had to drop my ego a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
It's what everybody does. Even I do. I'll be like, I'm such a great marketer, and then we just hired like a new website designer or developer, and she's like telling me all this stuff, and I was like, I can have an ego about it and be like, no, I want it this way.
Yeah.
Or I can just be like, okay, I can see why that's going to work. And I find that a lot of artists, they're like, well, that's not my brand. Because like I said, I coach so many artists where I'm like, I know this is like a piece of you, but let's elevate it.
Yeah.
Let's make it look luxury. I'm like, I don't care what town you live in. I'm like, but like you need to change your font. Like something as simple as that.
Oh my gosh, it's
huge. I'll be like, your font looks like toddler font. I'll be like, I'm not trying to be like an asshole, but your lighting sucks.
Yes.
Nothing says luxury about this.
I can't read your blog in cursive.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to work.
I'm funny about fonts though.
Oh,
but
so
I
funny.
tell people, because there's like the good artists, but then they have an ego about how they package themselves up. And you're like, hey, like you can still be a good artist, but you have to be a certain way to attract that type of client. That's
one thing that I love about our industry. You never arrive. Like, you're constantly learning, and if you do feel as though you arrive, you're already behind.
Yeah.
Because you have to constantly keep learning. And I feel like 2023 for me was a year of learning. I had to humble myself because I didn't have space for an ego. I had no clients. Who can I have an ego with? I don't have any
You're
clients.
Like, I don't care, yeah.
So I had to humble myself and truly just be like, okay, I need help in any area that I can get. And I'm not going to be too proud to say that. It was with plenty of areas in my life. Like, I was a newlywed. Like, we're still newlyweds. I have no idea what a healthy marriage looks like, a godly marriage. So we had to ask for help. My business, I had to ask for help. Like, volunteering at my church, I had to ask for help. And there's nothing wrong in asking for help either.
Well, I just like love that you're touching base on that, because I feel like so many people think, well, I've made it in life. And you're like, no, you made it to that ceiling.
What's next?
Yeah, and you got to go to the next ceiling. Yeah. And when you put yourself in a perfect situation to go to the next level, because you're like, I've got to get clients. I'm new. Like, you're kind of at this place, you're like, I have to. And it's interesting, you and like Julia Ward, same thing. She moved to Arizona. And she's like, Danielle, like, I got to build a whole salon. I was like, go get your ass out there and network. You know what to do.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You have to make yourself uncomfortable to grow.
Yeah.
And I don't think growth happens when you're comfortable.
Yeah. It's like
impossible.
There's always going to be seasons where you're like super uncomfortable, but then at the end of it, you're like so proud.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
See the person that you have become. Okay, so you moved. How long have you had your salon?
November made a year.
Oh, okay. So are you fully like booked? How are you doing?
Yeah, so I am 75% NBR. My CFO says it needs to be less, but I'm like, listen.
Why?
So he thinks he
thinks you'll make more money if you.
No, I love him. He's great with numbers, but I'm like, excuse me, I want a full NBR clientele. Yeah. But he's like, well, what about the economy? What if they can't afford it? What if they want a pixie cut? And I said, I guarantee you these women will never want a pixie cut.
They're a different price bracket. Like,
they're different breeds.
It's a different, I always say, it's like during the pandemic, all of our clients were like, no, we still want our hair. I was like, really? They're like, we don't care if we don't have toilet paper, but hair? No.
I've had clients tell me, they're like, I don't even think... If I couldn't have it in my budget, like, I would live under a bridge before I didn't have my hair.
You like feel bad when they say that, but you're like, girl, I get it. I had clients that were like, hey, I put like money away like in this literally like a jar for my hair. I'm like, oh I feel bad, but I love that you value it that much. So they're like, I feel sexier. I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife. Like,
dude,
this
overall,
matters to me.
it is so important. Like, I feel like I show up better for those around me when I feel good about myself.
For sure.
Not that I don't think my worth is in my hair, like by all means, but I feel better as a woman. I feel better as like a business owner.
Yeah.
You know? And especially if you're doing NBR and you're not wearing it, you have to go wear it.
Yeah.
To feel it.
I'm like very passionate about that as well. It's funny, I did one of my husband's clients, his wife, last week, and her husband like came up to me and was like, "Hey, thank you," and he started crying.
Man, I love that.
I know. I was like, "You're welcome." He's like, "No," like he's like, "My wife walked into the room and it wasn't even about her hair. It was how she carried herself."
That's crazy.
And then I almost started crying. I was like,
Isn't it so beautiful what we get to do?
It is. It's awesome. And it's like all I showed her was who she's always been. And now she feels it on the outside. And so I said, so I guarantee she's going to close better. She's going to be a better mom, better wife. I was like, I know it's something silly like hair, but like you said, when you feel better, you carry yourself different and you operate different with others, which then in turn goes to you have more reach and impact on others through hair.
I'm such a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my stories that I tell, like, through social media, because I experienced that. Like, this summer was just, like, so stressful for us. Just life happens, and I chopped all my hair off. Like, my natural hair was this long.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you look like you have good hair.
I chopped it all off. I have pretty thick hair naturally. So my story's like, hey, did you regret chopping your hair off like me? Like, come get 3 rows of 22s. Yeah. So I chopped it all off, and it was like a week. I was like, I'm cute. And then I was like, now I'm freaking ugly. I need the hair. Like, I need the long hair.
I always say short hair's cute. Like,
it's so cute.
Every time I cut my hair, my husband says the same thing. It's cute. And I was like, I don't want to feel cute. I want to feel sexy.
Yes. I'm like, I don't feel sexy. I don't feel like a woman. I feel cute.
Yeah, I feel
like,
cute.
You know, the shoulder shrug.
Yeah.
Cute.
It's fun. It's fun, but it's like one of those things you regret. And
yes.
Then you have hair extensions.
Yeah. So then I traveled and got my hair done. Full experience.
I love it.
Yep.
Well, I love hearing your story. I love your passion behind everything. You're like a great example of showing that if you do the work, anything is possible, and that there is no ceiling.
No.
And that there really is no excuses.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's like I can give you a tool, but I can't get that tool to work for you. You've got to do it.
Exactly. And a small town mindset, like, just because you're in a small town does not matter.
Yeah.
You can literally do whatever you want. I tell people, like, if they're self-conscious about wearing an outfit, I'm like, you could wear a paper bag.
Yeah. If you
all over your body. People are going to be lined up trying to get those bags at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because you did it with confidence.
That reminds me of my daughter, Bailey. Half the shit she wears, I'm like, what are you wearing?
No, they're getting crazy. Some of their outfits, I'm like, man.
I'm like, are you wearing a bra with like boxers and like boy? I don't even like, but you look cute. Like, I don't know.
They rock it.
Oh my god, that's good for you. Well, thanks for being on the podcast today. I know it was kind of a quick one. If you're back in town, like you're fun to talk to.
Yes, I loved it.
I love when I have like high energy people. It makes it like easy and fun and kind of light. And I feel like you added a lot of value just sharing your story and what's possible.
Thank you.
So you guys, if you are interested, well, give us your Instagram handle.
Okay, my handle is Austen, AUSTEN .the Light Collective.
Okay,
that's the name of my studio.
So you heard how passionate she is about hair. So ladies, if you are resonating with her and you want your hair done, look her up on Instagram, go stalk her page. If you're an artist and you love our message and you're like, what Kool-Aid did they drink? We're going to invite you to come drink the Kool-Aid with us. We'd love you to be a part of our community. I think the community is huge when you feel so alone. It's nice to have, people going through a lot of the same stuff. So if you're interested in Natural Rose education, you can go to nbr.education to learn more. We have several programs. We have a shadowing program. We have the Academy, which is a full-blown business marketing, sales, hair extensions, all the things. We have small classes. We got a lot of options this year.
So many options. Mastermind after you become a licensed artist.
Well, I just was like, I selfishly don't want to let any of my students go. So I just keep creating more programs because I'm like, oh, you're going to go take a program there? No, let me create a better one. Just keep it in the family.
Look at ours over here.
Yeah, look at this shiny, sparkly thing. So, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let me know. I'll definitely love to have you on the podcast again.
Me too.
And you guys tune into another episode every single week. Share it with your friends. We release every Tuesday, the Big Money Stylist podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.